नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है, चढ़ती दीवारों पर 100 बार फिसलती है। मन का विश्वास रंगों में साहस भरता है। चढ़कर गिरना, गिरकर चढ़ना ना अखरता है। आखिर उसकी मेहनत बेकार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती। नमस्कार सभी को एंड अ वेरी जोशफुल जय हिंद टू एवरीवन। मैं हूं मयंक तिवारी और मैं स्वागत करता हूं आप सभी का अंतिम पग के एक और स्पेशल एपिसोड। आज हमारे साथ हैं एक बहुत ही स्पेशल और एस्टीम्ड गेस्ट, ब्रिगेडियर विदुर नरवेकर सर। सर ने भारतीय सेना में अपनी 33 साल की सर्विस दी है और अपने आखिरी टर्नर में ही वाज द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ एसएसबी भोपाल बोर्ड। थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर एक्सेप्टिंग आवर इनविटेशन एंड कमिंग टू आवर प्लेटफॉर्म।
Welcome, man. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity also.
थैंक यू सर। सर वाज द एक्स इंटरव्यूइंग ऑफिसर ऑफ एसएसबी भोपाल। तो आज के इस एपिसोड में हमें बहुत सारे इंसाइट्स जानने मिलेंगे एसएसबी इंटरव्यू के। तो बिफोर कमिंग टू एसएसबी सर, how have been your this 33 years of journey?
Oh, it has been very challenging from one episode to another episode. And, every challenge was bigger than the previous challenge. And you got such an environment where every challenge was met because of the cooperation of the people around, because of everything, the environment. And generally, everything went off very well. And when something has passed off, you felt you haven't done anything and you wanted to do something more.
Sir, then you were, in artillery, आप brigade के commander थे. Then comes the call for SSB. तो ये choice based होता है सर या eventually it is call of duty?
No. When at every stage, at the level of colonel, for the interviewing officer, at the level of colonel and brigadier and major general, they ask you for your choice. And if you give your choice, then you have, some kind of a theoretical exposure in Delhi in Defense Institute of Psychological Research for about a month and a half, followed by about 3-4 months of practical leg in one of the SSB boards, where you are under existing trained IO, interviewing officer. He may be junior to you, he may be senior to you in service. And you take about 100 odd interviews under him, and you train yourself. And then in both the things, if you're found suitable, only then you are then posted as an interviewing officer.
Okay. Now I'll come upon to the interview, sir. इंटरव्यू जैसे एक शब्द, दो शब्दों से बना एक शब्द है इंटर प्लस व्यू, मतलब किसी मनुष्य के अंदर का व्यक्तित्व जानना। तो एसएसबी का इंटरव्यू इज व्हाट जनरली मीन, ये इसका एक असल मतलब क्या हम देखेंगे सर?
You rightly said, it is interview, मतलब अंदर से आपको देखते हैं. You see, कोई भी सिलेक्शन सिस्टम अगर आप लो, तो we are more interested in your knowledge, in your conscious behavior, in your expertise in the subject, in the expertise in the kind of work that you're going to do. Whereas in the SSB, it is not so. What we are more interested is in your behavior, your unconscious and subconscious behavior. What is your ethical, bringing up? What have been your priorities in life? How have you organized yourself? What have you learned from your environment? How have you made your personality? How have you made choices in life, and how have you used them for your betterment? We go into all this, and we look at you from three angles. We have three ways of entering into you. And that is called Manasa, Vacha, and Karmana. Manasa is what you think, Vacha is how you speak or what you speak, or through your speech I get into you, through your thinking I get into you, and through your actions I get into you. These are the mediums through which I get into you and see you totally from inside and then select you. So this is a very peculiar selection system.
Mhm. So, sir, like there are other tests as well, psychological test भी है. उससे भी the psychologist is going inside the subconscious and unconscious mind of candidate. So then why the specific need of interview and other GTO tasks as well?
You see, everything looks at a different part of your psychology.
Mhm.
Psychologist sees how you think, what is in your subconscious. If you see all the psychological tests, one peculiar aspect of all psychological tests is they give you the least time.
Mhm.
Okay, if you are an okay academically person, and if I give you a picture to write a story on, and I give you 2 days, you can write a beautiful story. If I give you 10 words, you can write some beautiful sentences. But I don't give you time. And by not giving you time, what happens is what is there in your subconscious and unconscious that comes out. Subconscious is what you know and what you can remember. Unconscious is what you have forgotten. There are many things which you have forgotten in life, but yet they have made some effect on your behavior. Like maybe you were in third, fourth, fifth standard when you had a teacher. You don't even remember that teacher, but then that teacher used to do something, say something which you liked or which you disliked. In either way, it imbibed something in you which is continuing till today.
Mhm.
Yeah. So whether you have forgotten it or not forgotten it, it has made some impression in you. So when I don't give you time, these things come out. And I am interested in these things because I am not interested in your conscious behavior. I am interested in your subconscious behavior that given a point in time, how will you react or respond to a situation? So that is what he does. Now, what I do is, as an interviewing officer, I go into your history, which the psychologist cannot go into your history. And I see how you behaved in your history, be it academics, be it your last job, be it in your sports, games, extracurricular activities, how you dealt with the people, how people dealt with you, how you dealt with your friends, how you dealt with your teachers, how have you learned from everyone that, you were in company with. As far as your behavior is concerned, whom have you learned what? All
Mhm.
these things I have resource to go into because I talk to you one to one personally.
Mhm.
Now, both of us, in the interviewing officer as well as the psychologist, is seeing you individually. Although
Mhm.
I do uh, uh, infer as to how you would be with the other people. But here is another assessor called GTO. He actually sees you working in a group, and he understands your group dynamics. Because in the defense forces, there is no individual task. All tasks are in the group. You may be a sniper, you may be a pilot. Okay, but as a pilot, it is not only you who can think what you have to do. You are in tune with many other guys in that story. If I as an army unit wants a fire support at some place, then you as a pilot have to do everything to support me. So we all work in group. And that is what the GTO sees as to how you work in group. So all three of us look at you in a different angle, but what we want to interpret you is probably the similar.
Yes, sir. Right, yeah. Sir, I have heard many a times from many of the officers in their interview, army gives you another life. So how you can relate with this statement, sir?
Farming gives you another life. Uh, You see, like, there is another word for Brahman is Dvija. So Brahmins are the ones who are born twice, one before the thread ceremony and after the thread ceremony, after they get educated or something. But then let us keep that aside. I wouldn't say army gives you a separate life, but army reforms your life. आप चाय पीते हो?
No, sir.
अच्छा, okay. All those who drink tea, वो क्या करते हैं कि दूध ये वो सब 2-3 चीज पानी इकट्ठा मिला करके उसमें चाय पत्ती डालते हैं, है ना? ना चाय पत्ती डालने के बाद में it reforms the initial state of milk, initial state of water, and initial state of tea powder, sugar, everything. It reforms into a different ball game, which is called tea. So what army does is we don't give you another life, but we take you as a raw product, and then we shape you. हम आपको कुमार की तरह मिट्टी लेते हैं, and then we shape you on a regular in a regular manner, and then we make something different out of you. So whereas your life is same, but it is completely reformed by the time you get into the army in a substantial seniority. So that is what we do. We don't give you separate life, but we reform your life.
Yes. Yes.
Or rather than saying we reform your life, the army reforms our life.
Right. Right. Now let us come.
It's all Guru Chela system. We learn from our Guru and we teach it to our Chelas.
Now, sir, let us come purely to SSB and day one. Say, let's start from the screening day. Nowadays, sir, it is seen in many of the candidates that PPDT के लिए they prepare a lot. And according to them, OIR is not that much important. But in sudden, what is the importance of OIR in not just in screening, but in recommendation as well?
The OIR basically brings out your IQ. And probably why this understanding has come is because we say that IQ is not very important. EQ and SQ is important. Okay. Now, I will give you at this stage only what is a general meaning of EQ and SQ. EQ is called emotional quotient. And emotional quotient is basically, how you understand your own emotions, how you understand the emotions of the person in front of you, and then how you regulate your emotions to accommodate his relations. That is what you call empathy. Now, if you go on to the hierarchy of emotions, it is antipathy, which is your care to hood kind of a person. Then there is apathy. Again, in fact, in antipathy, you hate a person. In apathy, you care a damn. Let everything be happening. In sympathy, you feel bad for that person. Whereas in empathy, you share his grievances. So that is the kind of EQ that you have. You share his grievances. And then there is an SQ, that is spiritual quotient. Now, spiritual quotient, you don't only share his grievances, but you also you go beyond your limits to, help him out. And you go beyond your limitations of your body, limitations of your thinking, limitations of your resources. And it's a complete sacrifice. Okay. So we have always been harping in all our advisory sessions, etc., that it is the EQ and SQ which we are looking for. And we do that, EQ as a terminology was, in psychology, it was invented only in 1997. SQ was invented in 2004. But we have been checking the aspects of EQ and SQ in the system since 1943, since the SSB system started. So because we are telling this again and again, people feel that IQ is not important. But at the level of screening, the importance of IQ is different. At the level of screening, I wouldn't like to discard a guy who has got good IQ. So OIR has got 5 stages. OIR 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 being the best and 5 being the least. Okay. So if you are OIR 1, why should I lose a guy who is OIR 1 or 2 maybe? Okay.
Right.
Your IQ is very good, but then your EQ SQ is bad. I will reject you in the main interview. But at the outset, in fact, it is an asset. You are an asset to me if you have IQ, EQ, and SQ, all 3, isn't it? So why should I lose a guy who is having good IQ?
Right.
So first of all, I would like to tell you and anybody who is watching this podcast and going to appear for the SSB, please don't take OIR. Don't give it a second standard of preparation. You must prepare OIR very intensely, and that is one thing, just one thing in SSB which can improve with practice. Your stories, your mock interviews, your repeating of your stories or words and this and that, they don't improve the quality, because the thought behind that remains the same. Okay, so if that thought is acceptable to me, fine. If that thought is not acceptable to me, then you may practice it 200 times, but it is of no use. But OIR, those verbal and non-verbal tests, with practice you become more perfect. So therefore, you must give a lot of lot of attention to the OIR. Now, just to give you an example, in OIR, like I told you, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the in your PPDT, you have gradings like yes, that is Y, no, that is N, and D, that is doubtful. Okay, and just to give you an indication of why OIR is important, if you have OIR 1, and if you just have one assessor giving you D and other two saying no, N, this man is not worth it. Okay, he doesn't speak well or whatever is his perception. But even if one gives you D, and if you have OIR 1, you are in for your second stage. That is the importance of OIR. So therefore, I would recommend to all the future aspirants not to neglect OIR, not to neglect the verbal non-verbal tests.
And do the same happens in the recommendation process as well. If you will be having a good OIR, so GTO psychologist interviews, if you any one of them give you D or Y.
वो तुमने वो सुना है ना, ये लॉज होते हैं ना सारे, केपलर्स लॉ एंड फलाने का लॉ, बर्नौलीज थ्योरम, उसमें एक चीज होती है, टेम्परेचर रिमेनिंग कांस्टेंट, प्रेशर वेरीज according to something, so there is something constant. So if your EQ and SQ is good, then your IQ is most welcome. Okay, but if your EQ and SQ is not there, your IQ is not important. So IQ is important as long as you have good EQ and SQ. Okay. Whatever aspects EQ and SQ has, those 15 qualities in which you all may be knowing. So EQ, SQ is more important. If you have that, then IQ is important. And imagine, I mean, what am I recommending you for today? Not just a lieutenant. You are going to be the Chief of Army Staff tomorrow. So I want Chief of Army Staff to be an intelligent person, right?
Right.
So why should I leave a person who is OIR 1?
Exactly.
Okay. So if you are OIR 1, the least that we can do to you is you go into the second stage.
So now let us come to the another part of screening, sir. Except after PPDT, there comes the narration and group discussion part. And there again, we see three assessors sitting, psychologist, interviewer, and the GTO. What again the interviewer is seeing in the candidate while narration or in the GD?
See, at the level of screening, I am not an interviewing officer or a GTO or a psychologist. We all three look into all of you with the same angle. Okay. And we see something which is visible and very few things though, but something which is invisible. Invisible thing we see, whether you're obese, okay, are you stuttering, all those physical kind of things. What are your spoken skills? How you deal with the others, how you express yourself. What is your effective involvement? Now, effective involvement is, something which includes your knowledge, how you express your knowledge, and how much is interest that you are showing in a particular activity. So what is your effective involvement in whatever you are saying or speaking? How are you putting across your point? Putting across the point is not just what comes to your mind and speaking. There are 4 stages of speech. In Sanskrit, they're called para, pashyanti, madhyama, and vaikhari. Para is the basic raw thought that you have. Pashyanti is your visualization as this thought, how do I put across? Once you decide as to how I put across this particular thought, then you decide the medium in which I should put it across, madhyama. And then it comes to your mind. So when you speak, a lot of synthesis takes place in your mind. So how you put across that thing to the people is the thing that we see. So everything boils down to your thinking. How do you make see, at the level of screening, probably I cannot get your subconscious or unconscious response. Because there is only one story to be written. So you can very consciously write that story. But when you write consciously also, what is the thought process that has gone into it? What kind of story you're making? Why? What is the aim of screening and what story have you made? Does that story have any meaning? Does it speak of some vision, etc., etc.? So all these things we see in that. And basically, how do you accept others?
So, sir, like
Yeah.
taking speaking ability as one of the factor. So, speaking ability में should we consider language as well? Because there are people who are not proficient in English because they belongs from Hindi medium background or उनको अच्छी education नहीं मिली.
See, English is definitely important. But तुम मेरे को एक बात बताओ, do you go to a restaurant when you're not hungry?
No, sir.
Do you go to your bed when you're not sleepy?
No.
Then how can you come for the SSB interview if you don't know English? You know very well that this interview only takes place in English. And there is a reason why it takes place in English, because English and the Hindi are the only 2 languages which are spoken in the Army Navy effort. Okay. There is no third language. Like in the administrative services, you in fact speak in the local language. Like anybody who is, say, IAS cadre of Maharashtra state, okay, it is compulsory for him to learn Marathi. Similarly, when they appear for their tests or interviews, they can write in Marathi, they can speak in Marathi, or Hindi, or Gujarati, or Tamil, whatever. Because the environment there is like that. Not that they cannot speak English, they can speak very good English. I haven't seen an IAS officer whom, if I ask a question in English, does not answer that. But his proficiency is in that language. Okay. Now coming to the SSB. Now, whether English is compulsory or important. Now, if I see that you are coming from a village which absolutely has no scope of learning English, okay, in that case, your English does not matter. I mean, let me tell you, in my entire life of those 2.5 years in the SSB, the person whom I have given the maximum marks in interview did not know how to write or how to speak Hindi. He was a person, I will not name the person because, it is not correct to speak on such a medium. But psychologist almost discarded him because he couldn't write anything. But I have given him the maximum marks. The GTO has given him the maximum marks. And we both convinced the psychologist that this chap is good. This is his background. And therefore, he does not know Hindi. Son of a coolie from a small little village of Orissa. Okay. But highly accomplished thereafter in different ways. Highly accomplished in sports, etc., etc. But as far as his English is concerned, he was not good. But still, he's a major or maybe a lieutenant colonel today. Okay, if I was there in 2012 to 14, so even if he has passed out in 13, he would be about to become a lieutenant colonel now. So it is English is important, but if you can justify to me that why you don't know English, there is nothing wrong with it.
But sir, screening में you don't have the PIQ form, then how can you know कि ठीक है
Even if
इसमें?
I don't have the see, your intellect matters. And in screening, we allow you to speak in Hindi also. So if you can speak in Hindi and if you give out all those things that I told you, we don't discard you at the level of, but in Hindi also, if you cannot put across yourself, then there is something wrong with you. No? Yeah, you may be able to put across very well in Tamil or any other language, but that unfortunately is not considered. Okay. If you can respond well in Hindi in screening, we accept it as good as English.
Sir, now let us ठीक है screening हो गया. अब comes to the day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So the here candidate fill the PIQ form. So is there any right way of filling the PIQ form?
See, is there a right way of posing for your photograph?
No, sir.
मान लो तुमको बोला है कि भाई एक फोटो लगाना है, आपका पासपोर्ट साइज फोटो, या तो तुम्हारे एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म में लगाना है या वीज़ा फॉर्म में लगाना है या पासपोर्ट पे लगाना है या जो भी है. व्हेन यू टेक अ फोटोग्राफ, व्हाट डू यू डू? कैसे भी जाकर के खड़े रहते हो, उधर फोटो खींचते हो?
No, sir. If it
नहीं,
is
क्या
of
करते हो?
official photograph, तो
या लेट मी बी क्लोजर टू योर हार्ट. सपोज एक फोटो तुमको योर वुड बी को देना है कि भाई इलेक्शन के लिए एक फोटो दे दो मयंक, नाउ योर फादर सेज कि इसका शादी करना है, तो कैसा फोटो दोगे? कोई फोटो सोता हुआ ऐसा क्लिक किया और दे दिया, ऐसा दोगे?
No, sir.
तो कैसा फोटो दोगे?
सर
कैसा
एक
दोगे?
I'll be in good pose, अच्छे कपड़े पहने होंगे.
तो अच्छे कपड़े पहनोगे, अच्छा पाउडर सेंट सूंट लगा दो कि जबकि फोटो में स्मेल आता नहीं है, बट फिर भी पक्का तुम परफ्यूम्स वगैरह लगाओगे ना?
Right, sir.
क्यों लगाओगे?
Sir, just to
Because
get the
the
right.
photograph should show a better part of you, isn't it?
Right.
So PIQ is nothing but your photograph.
Okay.
You are giving your photograph to the assessor कि भाई ये बंदा है कैसे. फर्स्टली इसका एकेडमिक क्वालिफिकेशन क्या है, इसका सोशल क्वालिफिकेशन क्या है, इसने क्या क्या चीजें जिंदगी में करी है, what sports games etc has he played, where all has he been in commanding positions. Now in addition to this, you are also giving me your photograph in terms of Are you careless? Are you just writing something and cutting it out? Are you understanding the thing? Because many times I've seen वहाँ पे लिखा है कि place of maximum stay with population, but they don't write population because उन्होंने population पढ़ा ही नहीं. So are you careless? So ये सब चीजें मेरे को पहले पता चल जाती है before I even look at you. Except for your facial, structure, I almost know everything of you. So therefore, the correct way of writing the PIQ is that firstly, you should concentrate on writing it. You should write everything that you have, whatever games, sports, etc., you have played, whatever activities you have carried out, whatever commanding positions or leadership positions you have had in NCC, in schools, in colleges. You should write that because that gives me your behavior. And every information asked for must be complete. So that is the correct way of writing a PIQ.
Okay, so by this, sir, एक नया क्वेश्चन अराइज होता है कि इज देयर एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ गुड प्रोफाइल के जितने भी कॉलम्स हैं उसमें वो सब मैंने भर रखे हैं चार चार पांच पांच एक्टिविटीज से, तो दैट मीन्स आई डू हैव अ गुड प्रोफाइल। मैं सात सात छः छः सात सात गेम्स खेले हैं, छः छः सात सात मेरी ईसीसी एक्टिविटी हो रखी है, तो इज इट समथिंग लाइक दैट?
See, all this is your IQ. Okay. So all these things being good, I will then get into inside you. Okay. And then see कि तुम अंदर से कैसे हो. Just by carrying out some activities and playing sports and games, you don't become good. Okay. They are the medium. Through them, you have good sportsmen also and bad sportsmen also. भाई बास्केटबॉल खेलता है, एक बंदा बास्केटबॉल खेलता है वो गालियां ही देता रहता है, होता है ना. फुटबॉल खेलता है गालियां देता रहता है, उसको लात मार, उसको ये कर, उसको वो कर. तो फुटबॉल और बास्केटबॉल डज नॉट मीन दैट यू आर प्रोजेक्टिंग गुड इमेज. You are only telling me that you may be physically fit. Okay. How mentally fit you are, that is not enough. There is more to that required.
Sir, what are the common mistakes which candidates do during their interview?
Common mistakes. A lot of common mistakes. See, first of all, when a person comes for SSB, he thinks that, SSB is meant for average people. And because we have created that impression. We have created the impression any average person can come here. Because what we is your marks in the 10th, 12th don't matter. I have cleared people with 49%. I have rejected people with 98%. Okay. But common person with absolutely no common sense is of no use to me.
Right.
So they come raw. Now imagine a person coming to the army interview and not knowing about army. What impression will he give me?
Bad impression, sir.
An impression that he is not passionate about the service. What I am looking for is your passion. What I am looking for is your inspiration. Now, the first indication of your passion is your knowledge. We all know a lot about cricket. We all know a lot about football.
Right.
If I probably ask you about the last IPL, you will rattle out which were the teams, किसका कैप्टन कौन था, कौन कितने कितने रन से जीता, उसमें क्या हुआ, फाइनल्स में क्या हुआ. Why? Because you have love for that game. That is how I see your passion. वो तुम्हारा टेस्ट नहीं ले रहा कोई. Now here, in spite of coming for the test, if you don't know anything about the defense forces, then what do I take it? I take it that this chap is not inspired.
Right.
He's coming just because, he's been forced to come here, just because some of his friends got through. And he said, अरे उसको तो 50% मिला था, मेरे को तो 60% है, तो मैं भी पास हो जाऊंगा. That is the first mistake that a person does. Second mistake which I have normally found is a person feels that if I tell the interviewing officer that if not army, I will go for this profession, then I will not select him. So suppose somebody tells me that if I don't go for the army, then my second choice is going to the bank as a probationary officer.
Yeah.
So most of the people feel that if I say this, then probably I'll be rejected. So what he does, he tells me, sir, I will try for NDA. I said, okay, if you don't get through for NDA, then I'll try for 10 plus 2 TES. Okay, then even if you're not, then sir, I will do my graduation and try for IMA. Then sir, I will try for TGC. Then sir, I will try for NCC entry. And he just tells me that army, 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 army. And if you are 28 years and still you don't get it, what will you do? He doesn't have any other, platform where he can switch on to. Whereas you want to join the army, you join the army. I'm not denying that. But if not army, what? Do you have some kind of an alternate plan? So if you don't have an alternate plan, it is a rejection criteria straight away. Because you don't think. It is not that you actually love the defense forces so much. If you actually love defense forces, you will definitely have an alternate. Okay. But if you don't love the defense forces and if you're just coming here for pay, perks, etc., you'll say, no, I have nothing else. Okay. I have had anyway, that story we can speak later. So this is another problem which people have. Then the third thing where they do some mistake in interviewing is having a facade. When they come to me, they will start talking in American accent and all these things to impress me. But such accent, such facade lasts only till the first question unanswered or wrongly answered. The moment you ask first question wrongly or you don't know the answer, your entire facade falls down. Then you become a normal Mayank.
Yes.
Okay. And then you start answering. And my aim is to bring you to that stage as early as possible. Especially when I know that, you are creating a facade. So that is another thing. Next, I would say is, without listening, you are coming to the conclusion that what interviewing officer asked me is this. And I answer him. Okay. So you're beating around the bush or answering me a wrong question. Because you haven't understood me. Okay. You don't know the answer. You don't know the answer, you're still beating around the bush. Another, problem. So these are certain things like common sense. Now, interviewing officer asks you a number of mathematical questions. Okay. Simple mathematical questions of that speed, time, distance, that criteria. Then what is the area, volume, that category of question. A little modified sometimes. Then interest, common, simple interest, compound interest, that category of question. Now, the moment I ask you this question, you start searching for calculator and paper pencil. The moment I know that for that simple question, you are looking for paper pencil and this thing, I know that he does not have common sense. Okay. If you run 5 kilometers in half an hour, finding your speed in kilometers per hour, if you need calculator, you don't have common sense. Okay. So these common sense questions are they're then learning by heart. Anything which is learned by heart does not necessarily give you an edge. As long as you understand the thing, learning by heart is not important. And what you do is you prepare for 20% of the syllabus. Now, what is 20% of the syllabus? It is general knowledge and general awareness. But in that, in the bargain, you lose 80% of the focus, which is actually your inside story.
Right.
So instead of improving your behavior, you will probably read international news, but even that is more important. I'm not saying that that is not important, but in addition to that, you have to revamp yourself. You have to develop yourself. I won't say revamp always, because there are many people who have the qualities at the outset. So you have to develop them. So you spend time in developing yourself rather than, reading something which is not really required, not really important. So these are mistakes that, you do when you come for the interview.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to share my personal experience with you, what happened with me when I went for my
Hmm?
first SSB. तो
Hmm.
जैसे ही I entered the interviewing officer's room and he said, okay, sit down, वगैरह वगैरह. And then he looked on he do have the application form. The application form पे we do have our photo, passport size photograph. तो अब वो तो सर फोटो स्टूडियो वाले ने हल्की सी ब्राइट कर दी, उनको क्या पता मेरे को इंटरव्यू में जाना है. तो ही ग्रिल्ड मी एट दैट मोमेंट के यू आर कमिंग फॉर एन इंटरव्यू एंड अभी रिसेंटली यू आर लुकिंग डिफरेंट, फोटो में डिफरेंट, यहाँ शादी वादी का हो रहा है. तो वाज इट टू चेक समथिंग या जस्ट टू प्रेशराइज मी और समथिंग लाइक दैट?
No, in fact, he must have been doing it to ease you out,
हम्म.
not to pressurize you. वो तो ऐसे ही common बातचीत, just
बट
to bring you down
his
because
his
you are
tone
excited.
was his tone was angry sort of tone, sir.
No, I mean, I can't really comment on a particular thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
did he started with it or what? I mean, how did it go on?
Sorry,
He
sir.
started with, did he start with your photograph or?
Yes, sir. He started with my photograph at that time.
Uh-huh. And
एंड देन ही
he
सेड
said
के
what?
ऐसे शादी में आए हो क्या, इंटरव्यू के लिए आए हो, ऐसे फोटो कौन खिंचाता है, यू शुड नो के कैसा फोटो लगाना चाहिए, ऑल दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग.
Okay, something maybe exceptional, but probably his intention may have been to bring you down from your excitement, and probably you interpreted him as angry or something. So it could be the other way around. It could be whatever. But ऐसा normally कोई गुस्से में पहले नहीं बोलता, because as per our teaching we bring you down from your excited level.
कुड बी पॉसिबल.
We ask you, तुम कहाँ से आए हो, कैसे आए हो, क्या करते हो. So all these things bring you down. We gain some confidence in you, then you start speaking to us.
With this, sir, then comes the another question के recommended candidates do also get conferenced out. Why so?
Recommended candidates
Conferenced out.
get conference. Okay, in another interview.
Right.
Huh. So you think they should not?
So why so? जब एक बार किसी बोर्ड ने सर have recommended that candidate, तो वाई द अनदर बोर्ड रिजेक्ट्स हिम, या कैंडिडेट की कुछ गलती होती है कि ये पहले उसने कुछ गलत अलग किया, एंड जब ठीक है पहले उसने कुछ अलग किया तो इट कुड बी पॉसिबल कि जब ही गॉट रिकमेंडेड ही वाज फेकिंग दैट टाइम, वो फेक कर रहा था चीजों को.
Okay. तुमको 10th में कितना मार्क मिला?
87% मार्क्स.
और 10th के ही प्रिलिमिनरी में कितना मिला था?
इन प्री बोर्ड्स
हाँ, प्री बोर्ड्स.
अराउंड 81 82 सर.
81. एंड उसका कोई और भी एग्जाम होता होगा 10th
हाफ
में?
ईयरली, हाफ ईयरली सर.
हाँ, तो हाफ ईयरली में कितना मिला?
अराउंड 80 81.
सो तुमको हाफ ईयरली में 81 मिला
हम्म.
और फाइनल में तुमको 87 मिला.
हम्म.
ओके, 8%
हम्म.
का डिफरेंस है.
हम्म.
ओके. अभी तुम्हारे क्लास में एक ऐसा भी लड़का होगा जिसको 40 मिला और 50 मिला, ये
राइट.
दोनों एग्जाम में. एक ऐसा भी लड़का होगा जिसको 25 मिला और 35 मिला.
हम्म.
Okay. So your performance is not the same, isn't it?
Right, sir.
Now, what happens is when you come to the SSB, there are some people who are in this 80-87 category.
Okay.
They are much above my selection level.
हम्म.
Okay, they are much better than that. तो वो पहले ही बार में वो निकल जाते हैं. Okay, there are some people who are here, 25-35 का ब्रैकेट है उनका. They are
हम्म.
much below my requirement. Now, 25-35 I'm just taking as a standard. Okay.
हम्म.
कि दिस हैपेंस एवरीवेयर. तुम रनिंग में भी हो, अगर तुम्हारा लेवल अगर रनिंग का है, कौन था, यूसेन बोल्ट था, यूसेन बोल्ट का कुछ 8.5 ऐसा कुछ था वो,
Right, right,
उसका
sir.
टाइमिंग. ओके, सो उसका क्या 8.5 स्टैंडर्ड तो नहीं होगा, कभी
हम्म.
8.5 का 9 भी होता होगा, कभी 8 भी होता होगा, है ना. तुम अगर बहुत अच्छा रनर है तो तुम्हारा 12 भी होता है, 13 भी होता है. मेरा 18 या 19 20 के बीच में होता है. ठीक है. सो मैं 18-19 की कितनी भी तैयारी करूँ तो मेरा 10-12 नहीं हो सकता है. और यूसेन बोल्ट 6 महीने भी ना दौड़े तो उसका 12 सेकंड नहीं हो सकता. तो यूसेन बोल्ट तो हमेशा पास हो जाए, मयंक तिवारी हमेशा फेल हो जाएगा, बिकॉज वो तो 12 सेकंड का है. अब एक विदुर नेवरेकर है जो कभी पास होएगा कभी फेल होएगा, बिकॉज वो 10-12 में है और 11 का लेवल है पासिंग का. तो कभी 10 का होता है, कभी 12 का होता है. सो
Okay.
व्हाट हैपेंस इन देयर कैंडिडेट्स इज देयर आर डिफरेंट क्राइटेरिया. You don't get recommended, only 3 of us will select you, only then
हम्म.
recommendation nahi hai. Sometimes one recommends you, the other to come up in the conference.
हम्म.
Sometimes two recommend and the third comes in the conference.
हम्म.
Okay. So you have been recommended by two.
हम्म.
Which two recommend you? So you are a mediocre guy. Okay. When you are a mediocre guy, last time you performed well because you were in that, your personality also has got shades. घर में कुछ अच्छी चीज हो गई होगी तो तुम इंस्पायर्ड था. इस बार कुछ कोई झगड़े हो गए होंगे या दोस्त के साथ झगड़े हो गए होंगे, यू आर नॉट इन गुड मूड, सो यू डिडंट परफॉर्म वेल. सो एक रिकमेंडेड कैंडिडेट है, अगर वो 2+1 या 1+2 वाला रिकमेंडेड है तो दिस इज क्वाइट पॉसिबल. लास्ट टाइम ही फेयर्ड वेल, he just went above the criteria of
हम्म.
selection. This time he didn't fare so well, so you're just below the criteria. If you are much above that criteria, you would have got selected in the first go only. So it happens.
हम्म. And sir, for suppose a candidate is coming for his 13th or 14th attempt. Now, what will you
Mhm.
expect from such candidate?
His 13th or 14th attempt doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned, he is appearing afresh.
हम्म.
Now, the only thing is,
हम्म.
उसका जो experience है,
हम्म.
it has got one additional input, that he had 13 experiences of SSB.
Okay.
Your uh, every event that happens in your life teaches you
हम्म.
something. It adds to your memories. That memories add to your values, beliefs, and that gives you a particular thought process. So with every event, your thought process changes. Okay. Now what happens is, now if you say you take a 12th guy who is coming to me for NTA,
हम्म.
what is his experience of life? His experience of life is very, very little. He gets up in the morning, goes to the school, then he comes home, goes for the tuition, then he comes back, goes for playing something, comes back, does his homework, and goes back, sleeps, next day morning, again the same thing. He's not come across anything else in life. Whereas when you go to the college, you firstly travel on your own, then you have a liberty to bunk the classes. Now, when you bunk the classes, whether you go for the movie or you go for the games or you you sit in the canteen and chit chat. The choice is yours. So you learn from every activity that you do. So when I test you as an IMA candidate,
Mm.
I expect a little different attitude from you, a different experience from you. So therefore, your trainability reduces a little. Your trainability in the NDA is the highest because you are very raw guy and your experience is least, number one. Number two, you can be trained well because you are just 18 years old. Now you have become 22 years old. So your trainability is that way reduced and your experience has grown up. So I'm expecting more from you. Now, as far as the person who is coming from to me for the 14th time, my interest would be to see what he has learned from the last 14 attempts. Has he analyzed it in whatever way? He may be correct, he may be wrong. That is not my problem. My problem is, has he analyzed it? And what efforts has he put in? So in addition to a normal first fresher who is coming to me, this is the only change that I will have in his interview. Rest my attitude towards him will not be that 14th time आया है तो क्या है ये तो 10 मिनट में इसको वापस भेज दो. No. I will go through him properly and probably if I feel that he has made good use of past experiences of 13 times, for all you know, he might get selected. I have selected a 7th timer and I had a course mate who is a 13th timer or something. So, so it is 13th timer is not a rejecting factor at all. Okay. To an extent, perseverance marks he gets, no doubt. But if he has not learned from his past experiences, then that perseverance doesn't matter to him. Okay. Then it is just that he is whiling away his time. That's all.
Sir, another question from my experience, I have been 3 times to the SSB and all the 3 times I got the same board. So if someone gets the same board, do the IO checks his previous assessment, previous score वगैरह वगैरह and assess him on the basis of such कि अच्छा किया या नहीं किया?
You come out with a lot of exceptions.
Hmm.
You went to which board, you said?
33 SSB Bhopal, sir, all 3 times.
What is the SSB Bhopal? And you are from Indore, right?
I'm currently in Vidisha, sir.
Yeah, so in Madhya Pradesh only.
Yeah, right.
Now, firstly, Vidisha or Indore guy going to Bhopal is a very remote chance. We will rather send you to either Allahabad or Bangalore. So, firstly, you come here and you come thrice consecutively.
Yeah, right.
So, it's a very, very unique and very exceptional thing. But tell me, what was the time duration between the 3 attempts?
Sir, when I went first, it was 25 September 2022. Then I went again in March 2023. And after that, in March 2024.
Okay. So the first two events, the first 2 interviews was about 6 months.
Right.
And the last 2 was about a year.
Yeah.
So, okay. Now, firstly, let me tell you that all the rejected candidates' documents, they get destroyed after 6 months. We keep them for 6 months in case any representation comes. Okay. In my tenure of 2.5 years, no representation came. So, after every 6 months, you destroy that, number one. Number two, there are so many documents that one Mayank Tiwari has come for my interview. Does not necessitate that I, go into that thing and take out your thing. And what am I earning? I mean, I can make out what you are in the 45 minutes of talk rather than, sitting in that dust there and taking out your thing. That is second. Third is, SSB functions on ethics. As an ethics, we do not discuss a candidate. I might meet your GTO and psych 10 times in the, in the process of those 4 days that you are there. I might meet him 10 times for administrative purpose. We might have our administrative conferences. We may have our social get-togethers, but we will never discuss a candidate. Okay. Unlike every other place where the seniority counts in the defense forces, if you are a commanding officer of a unit, or you are a brigade commander, or you are a senior staff officer, you can have your own policies. As a CO, I can have my own policies in a unit. As a
Right.
president of the, I cannot have policies in selection. I can have policies in administration, but I cannot have policies. Policies for selection are sacrosanct. They have been decided by the recruiting directorate and DIPR. Okay. So just as a respect to me, one of my juniors, psychologists or GTOs, might discuss one or candidate with me once. Second time is definitely going to tell me, sir, you're not supposed to discuss these documents, discuss the candidates with me. Okay. Even in the conference, if I want, some candidate to be recommended, and if the GTO does not want, or the psychologist does not want, he doesn't come up, irrespective of my seniority. So these ethics are maintained. So we don't go beyond these ethics. So your previous documents are never checked. They're not cost effective also. कितना वो पूरा वो पड़ा हुआ है, उसमें से तुम्हारा एक डॉक्यूमेंट निकाल करके मैं क्या चेक करूं? और डॉक्यूमेंट क्या है? तुम्हारा रिपोर्ट तो बंद करके गया हुआ है। वो रिपोर्ट बनाने के लिए जो मैंने कागज बनाया था फॉर माय ओन रेफरेंस, वो फाड़ के मैंने उसी दिन फेंक दिया है। द ओनली डॉक्यूमेंट दैट इज लाइंग देयर इज द साइकोलॉजिस्ट का जो डोजियर रहता है, दैट इज देयर। और उसमें से मेरे को कुछ नहीं मिलना है। इंटरव्यूइंग ऑफिसर GTO को तो कुछ नहीं मिलेगा।
राइट।
और उसको भी कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, बिकॉज द रिजल्ट हैज गॉन टू द आर्मी हेडक्वार्टर। तो तुमने जो लिखा है वो हमको पढ़ के क्या फायदा? सो ऐसा कुछ नहीं। वी डोंट गेट इनटू द ओल्ड डॉक्यूमेंट्स।
Got that.
Be rest assured.
So, sir, now comes the most important question for which I think viewers were waiting. How one should prepare for his or her SSB interview?
You see, you are already preparing for it for last 15, 20, 22, 25 years. I always tell my students that the first time you told your mother that I don't want milk and I want Coca-Cola, that is the time you started preparing for your SSB interview. Because your personality is made with the choices that you make in life. Okay, you make good choices and you are a fitter candidate for the SSB. You make wrong choices, you are an unfit candidate for the SSB. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
Now the first thing is, what normally people do is they think SSB is a test which can be prepared for after you clear your ND entrance exam or after you clear your CDS. Now, this is a big misconception. If you want to prepare for the interview, if you want to prepare for the SSB interview, then at least 2 years before the SSB interview, you must be very clear that I am appearing for SSB. And you must start, preparing for the SSB. And one advantage of preparing for SSB is that even if you do not make it for the SSB, your personality development will, improve your other facets of life.
Right.
Your behavior will improve, your performance in other interviews will improve, your knowledge will improve. So, preparation for SSB will help you prepare everywhere else. And what normally people do is they come to me or any institute just about 15 days before the SSB and sir, हमको कुछ बताओ. There is no quick fix in the SSB. So you have to, if you want to prepare, you give me a guy who is in, say, who has just gone to 11th standard and appearing for NDA in 12th, or who has just gone to first year of his college and appearing after the third year of his college. I can assure you that he can, clear his SSB. Because you have to change internally. The first of the everything else is you have to introspect yourself. You have to learn how to introspect yourself. After introspecting, you have to see what are the things that are incorrect in you. And you must try and improve those things. So first, you must list out what are the good and the bad qualities in you. If I ask you to write good and bad qualities, I assure you, you cannot write more than 5.
हाँ सर, एंड
Because you
बैड
don't,
क्वालिटी तो और शायद 1 या 2 ही लिख पाए.
एक भी नहीं लिख पाएगा.
यस सर.
है ना? बिकॉज अपने आंख में इतना छोटा सा तिनका भी गया है ना, तो वो दूसरे के आंख में अगर गया है तो नजर आता है. अपने आंख में नींबू भी होता है तो नजर नहीं आता.
राइट सर.
है ना? सो अपने बैड पॉइंट तो अपने को पता ही नहीं चलते, बिकॉज वी जस्टिफाई ऑल आवर बैड हैबिट्स. All smokers justify their bad habits, therefore they keep smoking. And
Right.
every other bad habit is justified only when you get angry, you justify why you should get angry. Therefore, your bad habits continue to, grow. So you have to introspect and you have to decide that, yes, you have to improve upon. You have to be truthful, you have to follow rules, you have to follow discipline. A regime of discipline is very, very important. You have to improve your physical fitness. You have to improve your reading. You have to be more curious.
Okay.
From every aspect of life. What I see in the interview is not what you learned which formally was taught to you or which was taught to you formally. Physics, chemistry, mathematics, geography, history, everything was formally taught to you. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the things which were informally taught to you, which just by looking around, you have, inculcated into you. Like a simple thing like jumping the red signal. Okay, I'm sure I ask you in the interview whether you jump the red signal, you'll always say no. So therefore, I will never do such direct question. Okay, so I have another way of giving you a right hook and a left hook. So these are not the questions which I ask you directly, but I interpret from the other answers as to whether you are following the rules or not. Following rules is following ethics, following discipline. So preparation means going towards the truthfulness, going towards the following rules, going towards the discipline, going towards the physical fitness, because that is the requirement of the service. You have to be physically fit, and you must understand that you need to be physically fit. And you must prioritize time for all this. And you must prioritize your behavior also. You know what to do when.
Right.
Say, a person like Sachin Tendulkar didn't bother much about his academics. I don't know whether he's 8th pass or 10th pass or 12th pass, but I'm sure he must have had some doctorates given by the university for his performance in cricket.
Right.
हम लोग क्या करते हैं? When I'm in 12th standard, I spend my time in basketball. Okay, and thereafter what happens? Then you leave basketball. So as a result, you got 12th standard, you got 65%. अभी तुमको 12th standard से तुम कुछ कर नहीं सकते because 65% nobody wants.
Right.
बास्केटबॉल का तुम कुछ नहीं कर रहे हो.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है ना? So you have to have priorities in life. Now these priorities, you have to learn having the priorities. That is what is organizing yourself. You know, how you organize yourself, what you learn from the environment are very, very important things as far as your interviewing preparations are concerned. Therefore, you should always do interview preparation under some officer, some role model. Whether you go to an institute or what, I'm not dictating that. But you have to have a role model under whom you must always do your SSB preparation. You have to be guided correctly. Rote learning is not interview preparation. You write stories 200 times. No, you have to improve your habits.
Right.
Improving habits is more important than rote learning. So therefore, if you want to learn about SSB, you have to start learning at least 3 years prior to your SSB. Okay. And then you have to clear your written test. How can you not clear the written test? I have come across people who say, sir, इस बार तो ना मैं सिर्फ try करूंगा इंडिया एंट्रेंस लिखने की. Actually, why try करूंगा? I mean, do you try for your 12th standard कि इस साल सिर्फ try करता हूँ? No.
No.
Isn't it? But why do you have that? So the moment you try means 50% no is embedded in the word try.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you are starting with no. So you have to be positive in your life. You know, positivity is one thing which your training should have. So
Right.
SSB preparation is not direct preparation. It's not like कल को ज्योग्राफी का पेपर है तो कि 10 दिन पहले से मैं ज्योग्राफी पढ़ रहा हूँ. That is not how SSB. SSB is all indirect. You know what sinks into my mind over a period of last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. What has sunk into your mind is what I see. And not what you studied yesterday. Okay, studied yesterday is okay. All those 5% or 10% question where I asked you about general awareness and current affairs. That's fine. I mean, what happened to Trump and all those things, I might ask you, but that is just inconsequent. Even if you don't know, it doesn't matter. Okay. But what has got sunk into your mind is more important.
Yes,
So
sir.
you have to prepare for that rather than, just rote learn.
Yes. Sir, we can see that we are in a socially influenced era. आज के टाइम पे सर द कंपटीशन इज इंक्रीज सो मच. आपके टाइम पे देयर वाज नो स्क्रीनिंग एज मच एज आई नो. बट आज के टाइम पे एज लोग ज्यादा अवेयरनेस ज्यादा है. द रीजन कुड बी द इंस्टाग्राम रील्स, शॉर्ट्स, वीडियोस, द मूवीज इन्फ्लुएंसिंग द पीपल. तो कहीं ना कहीं एट अ मेजोरिटी प्लेस दीज थिंग्स आर अफेक्टिंग पीपल इन अ बैड मैनर. कि वो सिनेमैटिक वाली थिंकिंग ला रहे हैं मन में. दे आर वॉचिंग शेरशाह के, ठीक है, एडवेंचर वाली थीम. बट इन रियलिटी इट इज नॉट दैट इजी. तो हाउ इट इज अफेक्टिंग द साइकोलॉजी माइंडसेट of peoples, and what should be the view and direction of a true aspirant who really wants to join the defense?
See, what has happened because of this, the biggest influence of the social media is that your concentration span is reduced.
Mhm.
You don't want to put in more efforts in one thing because your happiness ends after every 15 seconds.
Right.
The moment I open my, I'm not on Instagram and Facebook though, but I'm on WhatsApp. And the moment I see 50 messages
Mhm.
on one group, I become very happy. Because those 50 short 10 lines messages, the moment there is one big, 2 pages message, I star it and keep it because it's not concentration मेरे को नहीं है. This is what ruins the younger generation.
Mhm.
Otherwise, younger generation from my side is more promising than our generation. I am one of those who believe in the younger generation being much better than the older generation. I mean, that is why all our wars we've been successful, not because of our older generations.
Right.
You see, every war, the youngsters have, they sacrificed their life as well as they won the war for us. It is always the younger generation, be it 71 war, be it 99 war,
Right.
okay, or be it 40. It is all younger generation. So if somebody tells me that younger generation is a spoiled lot, I refuse to believe. Okay. But the only thing is, today, their concentration span is reduced. Secondly, they are used to ready-made things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone asked me, what is my BMI? Okay, I would pick up my height in centimeters, I would pick up my weight in kg, and I would either physically or on calculator do this. Now, when I ask the children, especially when they're not in front of me, if they're on phone, what they do is they open an app called BMI,
Yeah. Right.
which says what is your age, what is your this, what is your that. Three things it asks you, and then it gives you 25.3 as your BMI. So I don't know the logic behind what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, when I told you initially, when I ask you, okay, if you run 5 kilometers in half an hour, what is your speed in kilometers per hour? You don't know the logic behind it, and what you do
Mm-hmm.
is you know the formula.
Speed
Because
equal to
last year you
distance
did
over.
your 10th and 12th, so you know the formula. So you put 1 kilometer, 5 kilometer here, 30 minutes here, that there, and you say okay, 10 kilometers. और भाई फॉर्मूला की जरूरत क्या है? केला वाला कभी फॉर्मूला इस्तेमाल करता है?
Mm-hmm.
नो. केला वाले से जब तुम 60 रुपए दर्जन का केला लेता है, 6 केला, ही स्ट्रेट अवे टेल्स यू 30 रुपया दे दो.
Right.
ही डजंट से 12/6 मल्टीप्लाई बाय 30/60. ऐसा कुछ करता है? नहीं करता है. बट दैट दिस कैंडिडेट्स डू बिकॉज दे डोंट नो टेबल्स,
Mm.
they don't know conversion factors, they don't know simple uh, verbally done calculations, finding out percentages.
Mm-hmm.
These are all common sense things. So because of these a lot of multimedia things, your common sense has gone a little down. Your processing mind has reduced a little bit. Your
Right.
awareness is large. You can discuss on a lot of matters with me more than what I know.
Mm-hmm.
But when doing these small things, you probably, you don't given it much of a thought. So that is how it influences, growing your mind.
Right.
And what SSB wants is this.
Mm-hmm.
Because SSB, fortunately or unfortunately, is selecting the candidates for the same job that they have been doing for last 50, 60, 100 years. Okay, today if I go to say uh, a company, say Tata Motors,
Mm-hmm.
what Tata Motors was doing 100 years back and what Tata Motors is doing today. Okay, or what Bajaj scooters was doing 100 years back and they're doing today. Or
Mm-hmm.
what even postal department was doing 100 years back and they're doing today. These are two different things.
Right.
Whereas when my Jawan is lying between the two FDLs injured, the qualities that I require to, take him back to my area uh, 50 years back was the same as the qualities required today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, today there is no some kind of a magnet with me that I can pull him. I have to physically go. So the courage I require, the other qualities that I require are the same. So my selection is for the same quality. Whereas rest of the other environment, the qualities that you select a person for has changed. I am looking for the same qualities. You know, so
Right.
I am looking for the same criteria.
Mm-hmm.
But slowly, people have become, lesser knowledgeable about these minor things in life. Since they have got a lot of things on the platter.
Right.
So that is the thing.
Great, sir.
So
Great.
otherwise, the younger generation is very promising generation.
It is.
And
It is, sir.
I have a lot of confidence in them.
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Yes, sir. Really. And it is really an eye-opener conversation, sir, for all of us. Last but not the least question, sir. Any memorable incident you had while assessing the candidates in at SSB Bhopal?
There have been number of incidents, no doubt. But one thing I would like to mention, especially for those, like I was telling you, the biggest mistake that they do is they feel that if they have any other choice, there are no chance of, or there are lesser chance of my recommending them. So boy came, to me for interview. And obviously, the first question that an interviewing officer would ask you as to why would you like to join the Indian Army? So to my horror, he says, "Sir, I don't want to join the Indian Army." So in fact, I was taken aback. What is this blunt way of answering? So he was probably an army officer's child.
Okay.
And he said, my father always tells, I asked him, then why are you here? He
Mm.
says, my father always tells me that you cannot clear SSB.
Mm.
So I want to prove to him that I can clear SSB.
Okay.
And then I went through my normal interview and I found him very good. And when we went to the conference, I found all three assessors cleared him. He was very high in the merit also. So then, after you get recommended, you come for the president's interview, which is a formal interview. You just come, handshake, and all that. So when he came, he was one of those 2, 3 guys who got recommended. So I asked him, now what is your plan?
Mm.
You want to join or no? He says, sir, now I got bush in hand, so let me see how to deal with it. I might, I may not. But I didn't come with this intention in any case. So it's a very memorable thing, and I always give this example to the people that don't think that just because you have some other, uh, you know, choice in mind, it means that I will not recommend you. I want a good person.
Right.
Whether you join it or not is not my baby. If you join, I'm not going to be rewarded. If you don't join, I'm not going to be punished. But as a person who is good for my profession, I would like to join. I would like you to join.
Great. It's bilkul, bilkul. I want to tell the
That is.
viewers that sir do also assess the cadets, sir. And sir, how candidates can contact you so that they can be assessed and can be mentored by you?
Yeah, you have my number. You can flash that number, telephone number on this. Okay. I personally don't do it on a business level, though uh, I have my personal what do you say, online classes. I am also invited by various establishment as a guest lecturer and guest interviewing officers. So mm, they can contact me on my number and I can guide them.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And it was really an insightful conversation, sir. I seriously got to learn a lot, and I'll be implementing those things in myself for sure. And thank you so much for joining us. It was really a privilege to have you on our platform and on our channel, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Good that you're a promising guy and you're doing these kind of activities. I'm very happy, and especially I know your father very well,
Yes, sir.
Subedar M. Tiwari. We've been working in the same battery, and then I was a CO and he was in the regiment. So we have dealt with one to one, and he's a person whom I have very fond memories of. one of the most efficient persons in the unit, and that you are his son and doing so well in life. And you must understand that SSB is good, no doubt, but is not everything.
Right.
President Abdul Kalam didn't make it for SSB. So there are people who are, meant for much higher goals in life, those who don't make for SSB. So if you do not make it for SSB, not necessarily that you should feel bad. Doing for SSB is definitely good, but then you have many other things in life. You are doing very well for yourself, and you must try to flourish in whatever manner you are going. And whatever I have said, if that helps the aspirants, to understand things, I'll consider myself most lucky. And I wish you best of luck, and I wish all those listeners who will take something from me a very best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode. Do like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Jai Hind.